let's get to it. Let's talk about the WNBA. Finally, we ain't got to worry about whether there's going to be a basketball season or not. Finally, these women are getting their money. Also, appreciate and shout out to you, Champ, because I wanted to make sure I got the actual factual information regarding the new CBA. Hey, people, if you need research and help, Undisputed World Champ is that type of person for research. The new CBA, an average salary in range of 600,000, the minimum above 300,000, the average revenue share of nearly 20% across the deal, the new salary cap starting at $7 million, which is up from $1.5 million, and the supermax starting at $1.4 million. And to your point, big fella, Asia Wilson is the first one to be the millionaire. And I ain't got no problem with it because of her merit, her work. You can make an argument, a case, Asia Wilson is the GOAT of women's basketball. So I ain't got no problem with it. My thing is, it should have been a long time that these women got their money. But I'm glad that they're going to get their money. I'm glad that they're going to be richfully deserving because they don't have to worry about going overseas, playing elsewhere, making their type of money. Nah, that's no longer the case anymore. I'm happy for that. And I'm also happy for the future generations for women's basketball. And shout out to Nafisa Collier as well. Because remember, Champ, we talked about this. Remember how she exposed the WNBA commissioner, Kathy Engelbert?
Yeah.
And Nafisa Collier, she had receipts. And given her position, her status in the WNBA and with the WNBA PA, she ain't lying. So I'm happy that the women are finally getting their money. It's been time. It should have been a long time. And I'm also happy for the WNBA season because it starts, May 8th? I think May 8th, May 10th. Yeah. So there's a lot of great things to look forward to. The Aces, are they going to repeat? Caitlin Clark coming back from injury. We'll see how she'll be. Angel Reese developing her game. Paige Bueckers. There's a lot of great narrative stories to build upon for the WNBA season. Hopefully they don't build it by controversies. But I'm glad, Champ, the CBA is done. We can focus on basketball. The players can finally get their money. It should have been a long time. What are your thoughts, big fella?
I think one thing that I forgot to send you, and that's my fault because I got it so late. I was still doing research while I was at my desk at work. I think one of the most important things is league housing. All players that are making less than $500,000 a year in 2026, 2027, all those players will be receiving provided housing every single year.
Oh, for real?
They will be, yes, and they will have league-wide air travel every single year. Not to mention, they will have first-class accommodation for across the league events, new facility standards requiring teams to have enhanced training and treatment resources, expanded team staffing requirements, including additional positions in athletic trainers and strength and conditional coaches, massage therapists, and nutritionists, and significant team contribution to players' 401k. Here's the good part. Extended insurance benefits totaling more than $700,000 per year per player.
Wow.
A one-time recognition payment for WNBA veterans and retired players based on years of service. So if you have 12 plus years of service for retirees, you will get $100,000. If you get 8 to 11 years of service, it will be $50,000. 5 to 7 years of service, $30,000. And an extended family planning benefits for players and their spouses. So that's where it extended. And those salaries,
Lord.
by the way, that you just mentioned, they will be
That's
expected
nice.
to go up to 2.4 million by the year 2032.
Very impressive.
So,
Very
but
impressive.
with that being said, they got what they wanted and they got what they needed. I'm so happy to see these ladies get paid. Asia Wilson, rightfully so, the highest paid player right now in the WNBA. Look, she's probably not going to be the highest paid very, very long because you have over 100 free agents in the WNBA. Over 100. So there's going to be a lot of movement going on, especially with the expansion draft going on as well during the 1st of April. Got a lot of stuff going on with the WNBA. So with that being said, look, I'm glad that they got paid. And look, for those of you who are going to sit here and say, well, Caitlin Clark saved the WNBA, I like to push back on that just a little bit. Because if that was the case, they would have had the revenue share in her first year. They had it in the second year in the WNBA. And guess what? She only played 8 games. Not to mention her team looked deadly without her. Kelsey Mitchell became the overall just catalyst of that team. So for those of you who are going to sit over there and take the easy way out and say she saved the league, yes, she had a big effect on the league. But if the revenue share would have came out that year, the first year that she came out of college, I would have agreed with you. But it happened the second year, she only played 8 games. The attendance was up at Las Vegas and the Valkyrie as well. The Valkyrie and the Aces sold out every single game. So it wasn't just the Fever. The Atlanta Dream sold out season tickets every single year for the last 3 years. And to put the cherry on top of that, the first year Caitlin Clark was in the league, the W still lost $40 million that year. For the first time in history, they generated revenue with her playing only 8 games. So let's give these other women a lot of credit for carrying the banner when they can no longer depend on one star, because that's what it's all about. That is why the NBA is suffering right about now, because they're star at this point. They don't have that legitimate face of the NBA at this point outside of, I would say, LeBron. In the W, they have many faces. That's where they're getting it right. And I will say this, the WNBA has never needed a face because the talent was so damn deep. If you really look at the Las Vegas Aces, especially before this year, they were a damn super team. You had Asia Wilson, and you could pretty much stop there. But they had Kelsey Plum, Kelsey Gray, just to name a few. And they had the superstar head coach. So, to be honest with you, they didn't necessarily need a face. They needed marketing. They needed a lot of machinery behind them in order to push them. Look what happened in Unrivaled the past 2 years. They didn't have Caitlin Clark. And their revenue tripled in less than 2 years. So we got to start giving credit where credit is due. I applaud Caitlin Clark for the faces that she brought, the eyeballs that she brought to the W. But to say that she was the sole reason why the W is where it is now, that's disingenuous. But I will say this. It's going to be interesting to see when her contract comes up, how much money she gets. I know there's a salary cap, but hey, when you generated that much, you might get your $2 million right now, because her contract is up in 2 years. So,
unfortunately, Champ, the reason why people are going to lean on Caitlin Clark being the face of the WNBA, to your point, as you mentioned, with Unrivaled, as well as a lot of other things, because again, before it seemed like people weren't paying as much attention to women's basketball. casuals, not us in particular, talking about casuals, because of Caitlin Clark. So I kind of understand why they would probably lean on Caitlin Clark saying that she's the face of the WNBA. I think there are other reasons for it as well. Remember last year, champ, you and I, we had conversations. Had it not been for injury, Nafisha Collier probably would have won league MVP. Had it not been for the injury. We've also had discussions about Angel Reese. And I thought at times Angel Reese got too much criticism, and wrongfully so. But I felt like, you know what, there were other reasons. We talked about the WNBA. We talked about Paige Bueckers. I just think it's easy to look at Caitlin Clark, champ, because they looked at what she was coming out of Ohio. They also look at the fact having their own sneaker deal. They acted at the end, plus the game, the relatability. When they look at Caitlin Clark's game, the first thing that comes to their mind to them is like Steph Curry in terms of her ability to handle the ball and shoot. Do I think it's fair to say Caitlin Clark was the reason? No, I don't think it's fair. But she does play a big role for it. She's not the reason. Of course, you have to think other things as well, too. How, to your point, how the Indiana Fever were without her. To your point you mentioned with Kelsey Mitchell. Plus, the league, obviously, you cannot argue with Caitlin Clark. They're a lot better. And you just mentioned the fact about her money, which she will get evidently. And sooner or later, what I also love about it, the future players, the Azzy Fudds, the Juju Watkins. Who's the Iowa State player? Yes, Brooks. I like a lot too. Crooks. I like a lot too. So I think it's great. I think there are other reasons, to your point, which led to the WNBA CBA. But I can also understand why some people may look at Caitlin Clark, because before, and being around guys, people didn't start talking about the WNBA, casuals I'm referring to, because of Caitlin Clark. Now, if it were people like us, yeah, we would talk about the WNBA for other reasons besides Caitlin Clark.
I always say this, man. It's not going to lean on one person. You got to give Angel Reese a lot of credit, too, because she bought a lot of eyeballs herself. There's a reason why she has the most followers on. There's a reason why
she's like, what, over 5 million?
Over 5 million. She has the most followers of any WNBA player. She had a Reebok contract coming out of college. She sold out of her shoes. She sold out of her shoes within an hour, every single colorway.
Not to mention the Reese's Pieces, the McDonald's commercial. She was on the runway, I think, for Victoria's Secret. So she was doing a lot of things, and plus she has her own podcast, just like us, the Unapologetic podcast. Yeah, and she's had guests on her show, Mariah the Scientist, Lotto, Shaq, a lot of other people. So Angel Reese, like I said, Angel Reese outside of basketball, she's going to be fine because she's intelligent, beautiful, she can handle her business as well as play her game. So that's what I also think as well. But BRF, what are your thoughts?
I was really happy when I heard that the CBA was agreed to, and then Champ, as he, hey, if y'all ain't following Champ for anything, follow him for his WNBA knowledge, because this man, I watch it, I enjoy talking about it, but a lot of the stuff that I learned and that I've kind of picked up, I got it from Champ because he follows it and he's that astute as far as understanding the game and understanding the ins and outs. So shout out to that brother for what he does for the WNBA. The biggest thing that I took from it is the revenue sharing, because we had talked about this before on our show on UGSP. Shout out to the homie Flash. We were thinking maybe 15, 16, in that 15 to 18% range as far as revenue sharing to start off. They're getting 20 out the gate. I wasn't expecting him to get 20 out the gate. I was ecstatic when he said, 20% revenue sharing at the gate, because that's
nearly 20%.
Yeah, that's a really big piece of the pie that they're getting out of the jump. Now you know for certain that right now to start, the players aren't going to get cheated out of money. 20% is a really good percentage to earn right off the bat. And so now you're looking at now not only are you looking at that as far as like the the high level, the A tier players, the BT players, but then you look at like your bench players and just like your like the ones that are going to come out of the gate, in that 300 to 310K range, that's going to start out the jump making the minimum wages. At the end of the day, that is still money in their pocket, and that's a lot more that they've been receiving over the years. So just shout out to the players union, shout out to the league themselves, shout out for them to be able to find the middle ground and be able to get a deal done and be able to have a WNBA season uninterrupted, just flow through, and because like they are continually, slowly building this momentum. Unrivaled is helping with the drawing, the arenas, the draws, just how box office Unrivaled has become. Just as them, the players honing their craft and working, to get ready for what's arguably the biggest season in the history of the league. Now that that the CBA has agreed to, and you can get to some basketball, this could be the biggest season in history because this could really jumpstart the upswing as not only like attendance being higher than ever, but now after the women's NC2A tournament ends, now you're about to get another influx of talent coming into the league at the WNBA draft that's going to get started with these girls in May, and it's just going to be even more exciting to see the AZ Fuzz and the Audie Crooks and the players like that are going to come into the league and just kind of add their flair to the league in order to continue to build this momentum. I'm happy for them because they honest to God deserve this, especially just seeing. Well, Champ said it really well too. Like from a fundamental standpoint, you can make a case to WNBA kind of they're better than the men's league, than the NBA right now, as far as the fundamentals and just stressing the importance of just understanding the little things and just being able to go out and
The
execute and play.
nuances.
Then the nuances. It's so important to understand that. You can't get to the flashiness, you can't get to the highlight reels, you can't get to the show stopping plays if you don't just understand the little nuances and the in and outs of just being able to execute basketball IQ, just all of that. You gotta understand the little things before you can even expand and get better at your craft and get better at the game. So shout out to them for being able to get the deal done. I was excited to hear for it. I jumped out. I ain't gonna lie. I screamed a little bit because like I was at the house chilling. And then I saw the news brief break, and I screamed. I let it out a little bit. I was excited for them because they deserve this piece of the pie. Now they can build on this. They have nothing else to worry about. They have no burdens. They have no stress. Now they can get out there and focus on what's important, and that's playing this game and expanding this league even more. And now we can get to some ball. I'm excited for these girls, and I'm ready to see them go, man. That's a big moment for them. This could be the biggest year in the history of this league.
Go ahead, Champ.
I have a quick question for both of y'all. Like with everybody getting paid now, everybody's gonna get their money.
Mm-hmm.
So we got 100 free agents. Everybody's about to get paid. Do y'all think that this is going to have the effect of the talent pool that's not only going to be overseas, but that's going to be coming to Unrivaled next year? Do you think that's going to be impact players that are willing to play in Unrivaled next off season? Because now I done got paid. I don't have to play both sides. I don't have to go play overseas in the off season. Unrivaled was paying me.
I think that's only for people. If you're a proven commodity, if you're somebody who still has to improve, I would kind of look at it like Unrivaled, like the Summer League. Like if you still feel like you need to improve, or Summer League, G League, if you still feel like you need to improve your game, you still have a lot to show, I would go to Unrivaled. But if you're someone that's like an Asia Wilson or a Nafisha Collier, a Caitlin Clark, a Kelsey Mitchell, or somebody like that, no, I don't think you have to go. You should use it as an alternative if you need to work on your game or for financial reasons.
I think I can piggyback on this a little bit. I think, like definitely Unrivaled can be used as like a summer league as far as like, honing your craft, getting better. Also, honestly, you can use it as a rehab. Like if you're coming off an injury, you're getting yourself right, use Unrivaled, to play kind of
Exactly.
Start off slow, and then as the Unrivaled season progresses, ramp up in order to get yourself healthy. These players can use it as a rehab. I think one thing I look at though, as far as the aspect, as far as how Unrivaled can still affect the league, I think it boils down to the lesser players, as far as the contracts the lesser players are getting, because if the lesser players are making decent money, like if that trickle down effect to the lesser players, the veteran players who are making less, if that trickle down effect is an actual trickle down effect that works, that's a conversation for another day. A trickle down effect that actually works, to where everybody's benefiting as far as like contract wise. That could be another reason as you might not see as many players go and play Unrivaled when they know, hey, you know what, I don't necessarily have to make that leap to Unrivaled when I know I'm getting a decent enough paycheck to where I can make a good living off of this WNBA money. I don't necessarily have to double dip and play an Unrivaled. But honestly though, I still see it making an impact, because honestly, there are going to be those players, those stars. I feel like the women, I'm not saying the men are in it for the love of the game, because the men do love to play, but I feel like the women are truly, truly in it because they enjoy what they do. And I really feel like I still feel like you're gonna see your fair share of elite players and superstars that are still gonna use Unrivaled to work on the craft, but also kind of benefit that league and kind of uplift it a little bit. Because I feel like the women should be in it to raise everything up, whether it's the WNBA, whether it's Unrivaled, raise it to a point where it could ultimately be like a summer league, a G League type of thing, to where, like, you know, rookies coming in can go to Unrivaled, develop their craft, and ultimately
Especially
take it to
for
the
the players who are
WNBA.
hungry, and especially for the players
Exactly.
who are undrafted and
Exactly.
who are trying to make a spot for the WNBA team. So I think this could make it very intriguing, champ. It can make it interesting, and plus, it'll help even Unrivaled to step up their game now that the
Mhm.
WNBA players are getting paid. And thank you for this note you sent me, champ. Also, in 2027, we'll have 50 games from 44 and up to 52 in 2029.
I like that.
Now the problem is with the games. How are you going to handle it in August and September and October? Because of course you got football season, and you got to deal with college football. You got to deal with the NFL, and then of course you got to deal with baseball. So that's a thing that you're gonna have to handle. You're gonna have to come up with schedules, like types of days for the WNBA playoffs. Because if you're gonna try to do a WNBA playoff game, like on a Thursday, I don't
Yeah,
care.
that's not,
If you're doing it on a Thursday night during football season, when you know Thursday night football, and then if you try doing it on a Sunday or a Saturday during football season, which Saturday you got college, Sunday you got the NFL, and even on a Monday you got Monday night football, because we all know the narratives. And you got the baseball season, the postseason. You know, the Dodgers back to back. Can they three-peat? You know, there's a lot of other great narratives too. So WNBA, they're gonna have to figure out what days are they gonna have to decide for the WNBA playoffs and stuff. To that, y'all
but
say what?
well, the thing is, I was about to piggyback all that. They had a doubleheader on ESPN during football season. I think they had the Aces versus the Indiana Fever last year during football season, and they had another game with Angel Reese and let me see, there was another game on. Oh yeah, the Los Angeles Sparks. The Sparks and the Chicago Sky game, they had over I think it was 750,000 viewers. But the Asia versus the Asia versus Caitlyn game, although Caitlyn didn't play, you know, but Caitlyn is the face of the Indiana. That had 1.5, they had 1.5 million viewers. So they can get their ratings if people, if your product is good enough, you're going to get your rating. Because not everybody look. I found out one thing last year. when I was watching the W on during football season. Now I have like TVs everywhere in my house. I watch stuff from my computer. I watch stuff from my tablet, my phone. I got like 3 screens on my computer. I watch sports from everywhere. That's all I watch is sports. But you'll find
Well, don't
out
carry
real
the
quick.
tablet like that. We don't want you to damage that tablet right there. That's too much money. We don't want you to do that.
yeah. I was given this, but my father gave me this too, by the way. But yeah, you really find out real quick if you're interested in sports and the product is good, people are gonna watch it. But I don't think they'll have a problem. You're not gonna get the ratings that you're gonna get as far as over, 20 million or what have you yet. But for you to get 1.5 million during football season in a prime game, that's something to behold. But they're going to get their ratings. The thing is scheduling. I will say that because
That's my
you don't
concern,
want
Chip.
them
Like I
to
said,
start because I don't want. Here's what I don't want. I don't need these players to get paid to start this load management bullshit. I really don't need you to start doing that. So if you're going to start scheduling, make sure the schedule is like it was when you wasn't getting paid. And you're scheduling enough rest for these players in between. You don't need them playing back to back every other night. Remember Satu Sabali, she was very, very adamant about them playing because I'll never forget. Remember when the Phoenix Mercury, I think it was like 7 days, they played like 5 times in 7 days.
Something like that.
Yeah, they got mad as a hippo with a hernia. So I'd never forget that. And Satu Sabali just came out there. Yeah, they played like 5 times in 7 days. Meanwhile, the Aces, they went 2 weeks and didn't play 1 game before they went on that big run. So, yeah, you got to be careful about the scheduling of it and making sure these players aren't playing back to back to back and these teams aren't playing 8 times in less than 7 days because that will wear down on the players. And then guess what? Then you got to start managing. Then you have to start this load management business. Another thing I don't think that everybody's talking about is this. The expansion draft is coming.
Mm-hmm.
The expansion draft is coming. Portland and Toronto. And Coach Sandy, who's coming off of an early exit in the playoff, who won the New York Liberty's first championship just less than 2 years ago with Breanna Stewart, Natasha Cloud, Jonquel Jones, just to name a few. She's going to be the coach of that new expansion team. Each team, much like the NBA, can only protect 8 players. So it's going to be interesting to see who ends up on those teams with the Portland Fire and the Toronto Tempo, especially with Coach Sandy coaching them now. And you got to ask yourself this. With that championship team, with all that talent up there in New York, now that Coach Sandy is gone, how many people are going to leave there in free agency? Can the Chicago? There's a lot of narratives. Who can the Chicago Sky get in order to pair with Angel Reese?
Which team is Sandy coaching?
The Toronto Tempo. They gave her the job for the expansion team.
Okay.
So yeah,
because I didn't know if it was Toronto or Portland. Because if it was that Portland squad, if it was that Portland squad, where did Sabrina Ionescu go to school?
Oregon.
Exactly. That's a watch out for. I don't think she'll get protected because I don't think New York's gonna let her go. But I'm just
after what she accomplished by winning the championship. So nah.
But I'm just saying that would have been a great narrative.
Though. Yeah, that would be a great narrative. And she played the entire. I didn't find this out because you remember in that game 7, she was kind of cold. You know what I'm saying? I never forget in that game 7, right? Come to find out, she had a fractured wrist. That's the reason why she didn't shoot that well. She had a fractured wrist in her shooting hand. She just wanted to play. So it's going to be interesting to see how this goes, man. I mean, Natasha Cloud, a lot of those members of those great teams up there in New York, they're free agents. Outside of Asia Wilson, half of them are free agents. And I don't know if they're going to be able to keep Kelsey Gray because she just won 3 championships in less than a year. Remember, she won in Unrivaled last year, then won in Las Vegas this year, then won again in Unrivaled this year. And like I said, another big narrative is who they're going to get to go with go with Angel Reese at the Chicago Sky because her, Paige Becker, and Caitlin Clark, they led the Olympic team in efficiency.
But at the same time, Champ, you talked about the Chicago Sky. That team was kind of falling apart, particularly with the roster.
Mm-hmm.
And there was some frustrations last year with Angel Reese and the team. So it's interesting to see how that's going to work out, whether if Angel Reese is going to remain with the Chicago Sky. I think she should remain on the team because of what she does on the defensive impact and her ability. But yeah, she was great, especially for the Olympics. Her, Paige Beckers, Caitlin Clark. But a lot of great things to look forward to.